I mean, in a way, what Tori's drawing now is it carries on what Owen
very much so,
established, doesn't it?
very much so.
It's
Yes,
so good
yes.
to see, because that's a rare. The animation industry as a whole has moved to 3D, hasn't it? So it's actually quite a rare skill these days.
Yeah. Well, when we were writing the first Broken Swords, of course, then there were quite a lot of layout artists and there was quite a lot of work. I think the general sense from what Tori was saying is that now there are fewer layout artists, but then there's less work as well. So it's actually quite a different regime, quite a different environment.
Well, the people that worked on Broken Sword layouts with it, they'd all kind of come from the remnants of Don Bluth, hadn't they, and that sort of thing, and Disney. But that's a long time ago now, and those people are largely gone, and the industry that exists now, making animated features, that it's all 3D. So those skills aren't in demand. So it's actually surprisingly difficult to find people that can still do it. Is that right, Tori? Am I right?
Definitely. I'll come back. Sorry. Maybe just continue. Sorry. Continuing on what you were saying there is, definitely. It's obviously with the 3D world now that more and more people's skills, drawing is almost cut out. I'm not saying it is. There are a lot of schools still that just specialise in the drawing side of things, but computer technology is becoming a lot more advanced, and people are almost forgetting that homing in on traditional skills and actually just jumping straight into using a Wacom pen like I've got in my hand here, and to actually do like what I do, like being taught traditionally, is becoming something that's a lot rarer to find now. And so this is where it was a perfect job for me, that when Charles had got in touch and said that, look, we've got a project that this could be up your street, that obviously my background comes from hand drawn animation background, that I've worked in feature animation. This is the first real step into games that I've taken, and it's been a wonderful step, and I'm really excited at that. And so where it's possibly dying in film, there's still a huge opportunity here with especially this game, and there's a few other point and click games that seem to be following in the trend of hand drawn animation.
Copying us,
of course.
I mean, one of the things, Tori, that we had to communicate with you right at the beginning, if you remember, was that whereas in a cartoon the backgrounds very much support the animation, in many ways this is the reverse in an adventure game, because people spend a lot of time looking at the background specifically. So the requirements in a game are actually quite different. I would say that the quality and the detail that we require in one of our screens is probably much greater than you'd need in a layout.
Sure, this is where it's been really exciting for me. Something where, say, if when I'm working in feature, that you'll have maybe a background that's on the screen for 3-4 seconds, and in that 3-4 seconds you've got a big character who moves throughout it, and with time and money and budgets you haven't got that license to fill in every little nook and crack and cranny and put in every little splinter and hair, where these screens, they could be shown, people could be staring at them for an hour at a time or more.
We hope they wouldn't do.
Really? Oh,
we hope they'd move on, that they would solve the puzzles, that the puzzles weren't so obscure that they had to. But yes,
for me, I'd like to think they'll be looking at them for an hour. They can look at all these loving lines that have gone in there.
It's much longer than a film where, as you say, the scene is over and gone in seconds.
Sure, absolutely. And so this is where, for me, it's something where before in the past I've had to learn to, right, Tori, you've got to stop because the time is money. You've got to move on. Where, okay, obviously still we have budget, and we, I can't sit there forever drawing backgrounds. I'm sure I would, because I love to throw in all little details, and that's something which I really hope that when you guys go to play the game, that you really explore and look under the tables and in the corners to see little hidden, like cobwebs with spiders, or little hidden messages that and I love, personally as an artist, I love throwing in these little things, and I think it's what brings it to life, and it's the charm of the game, and which makes it stand out and makes it different to anything else. And so for me as an artist, it's really exciting, and it's a pleasure, and it's so fun to be a part of it, and I'm really grateful for that.
Good. Now I'm rather hoping that one of the questions is going to be, what about Broken Sword 2 remastered on Android?
I'll let you get back.
Did anybody ask that?
No. But
Oh,
people
can I
are-
pretend?
Yeah, pretend that people are asking about it.
Have they? Oh, great! Because this is a great opportunity to introduce Peter. The wonderful Peter. Oh, hello. Peter, now, obviously we haven't announced the release date for Broken Sword 2 Remastered, but we're pretty close, aren't we?
We're very close. We're just going through the kind of last few stages at the moment of the development cycle, so it's not far off. We're just going through a few bugs, really.
We did say the end of November. It's going to be around about the end of November, isn't it? Give or take a day or two, either side, not quite sure.
Yes.
Good. Okay, well, anyway,
pretty
Peter's
much there,
been...
isn't
It is pretty much there.
It's looking really good.
We're really, really proud of the review scores that we've had on Broken Sword Director's Cut on Android, which have sort of been generally 4.8 out of 5, but have even got up to 4.9 at times, which we're just really thrilled by. I mean, it's just terrific, isn't it? We're very proud that people are enjoying the game so much.
Still enjoying it.
Still.
For all
Yeah.
these years.
Yeah, no, that's
Platforms
fantastic.
we could never have imagined these phones back in the day, could we?
Yeah. And part of the reason, of course, that we're slightly delayed on Broken Sword 2 is that Peter also did an awful lot of work on the backer panel, and worked closely with Nina on that. So thank you guys. We had very few complaints. In fact, I don't think we had any complaints about the fact that it was slightly later than we said. I mean, one of the things that's been sort of mentioned in the forums is that we're absolutely blessed with a really loyal fan base and really understanding. And it's just great, because I think what you guys understand is that, as I said earlier, we are a small team. We really love the fact that we have a direct engagement. If you're working with a publisher, the publisher has teams often of hundreds of people. In the case of Electronic Arts, it's thousands of people. What we do is we have a small team and everybody does different jobs, they jump around. So thank you for your patience, as we've said many times, but that's one of the reasons why.
Yes.
Good. Okay, well, we've lost Nina. Thank you, Peter. What's next, Nina?
Right, so we only have 10 minutes left, but hopefully we'll be able to cover as many questions as possible. We had a question about actually how do we manage to get Nico's voice back? Because she wasn't there for 3 and 4, is that right?
We worked with Hazel Ellaby, and we actually adjusted her voice. Sorry, again I should look at the camera. We adjusted Hazel Ellaby's voice. She was Nico in Broken Sword 1. We adjusted her voice because it had changed over 15 years. And I was quite pleased with the result, actually. I think we got quite close. So she did a great job. I mean, and again, to change the subject totally, Jenny Hall sent a tweet to me over the weekend saying, hang on guys, I was the voice of Nico in Broken Sword 2, not Flaminia, whatever her name is, Flaminia. So apologies to Jenny. It was her voice from what we can tell. I did check with Rolf, and I checked with Flaminia as well, and her agent said that she couldn't remember which part she played. So I think it must have been Jenny. So we're in the process of changing the credits after all these years. And Jenny, thank you for your great voice acting in Broken Sword 2.
But hopefully Hazel?
Quite possibly Hazel, yes. This is not something that we did sign up. We have agreed and signed up with Rolf, and it might well be Hazel. Yes, it's not something that has been decided quite yet.
She showed up in the Kickstarter. Which was
She
great.
did, and she did a great job. Yeah,
So she's
yeah.
still
Oh, very much so. Yeah,
still up for
yeah,
it, so-
yeah. And she's wonderful. We love her.
I have a really good question about puzzles
Oh,
here.
it's not too difficult.
Oh, it's a very difficult. Well, it is about difficulty. In fact, now that we've got a hint system, like in Broken Sword 1 and 2, are we going to put some unreasonably difficult puzzles in?
I would say the only way that you can put unreasonably difficult puzzles in is, one, if they're really contrived, which we fight very hard to avoid. Oh, Nigel's back. Oh, we're in trouble here. We're in trouble here. Right. The only way you put really difficult puzzles in is, one, if they're really obscure and contrived, which we really don't want to do. All the puzzles that we write are going to be within the context of both what's happening in the game and the player's motivation.
Well, I think what the question was asking is are the puzzles going to be hard? And I think fiendish is probably the word that we're looking for in terms of the puzzle. So not we strive very hard not to have unreasonable puzzles in the game. That everything that you can do, or the way that you solve these puzzles, is by lateral thinking. So everything is foreshadowed in some way, everything is alluded to in some ways, everything we try wherever possible to keep it logical. Obviously we don't always succeed, but if you really sit down and look at what's going on, every puzzle can be solved by a little bit of lateral thinking.
It has to be logical.
It has to be logical.
And when you finally do it, you have to go, oh yeah, it was all
Yeah,
right.
absolutely. When you look back at it and go, duh, why didn't I think of that first time? And that's one of the really, really exciting and interesting sort of jobs of design in these sort of games. It's coming up with something that isn't so obvious that it's, well, just pathetic and people sail through it, but at the same time, it has a logic. There are seeds of these puzzles sort of like layered in throughout the story as you're building up to them, so that you kind of and it's fantastic, and we spend a lot of time and the way that we seem to design these puzzles really well is a few of us just sat in a room and we start off with a seed of an idea, and literally we just sort of bounce it backwards and forwards around each other, generally getting more and more ridiculous and more stupid ideas until somebody just has a brainwave and then bang, we go, oh, how about this? And we go,
And that's
brilliant.
what's great, isn't it?
Yeah, and we're constantly going back over the game that we've already, you know, as Charles said earlier, once we've got the storyline and we've got a kind of semblance of a game design, we're constantly going back over that, going, well, how can we make that more interesting? How can we tell that little bit of story in a more logical way and introduce a puzzle at the same time? So there's a lot of iteration in this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's never I'm a great believer that it's very hard to describe interactivity in words. So you've got to actually create the game and play it, and then kind of go, oh, hang on a minute, that's not quite what I envisaged, and then iterate it and rework it all the
It's
time.
not like a puzzle book where the puzzles
Yeah.
are out of context.
No,
It's
absolutely.
keeping them in context with the story. That's the
Yeah,
hard
yeah,
bit.
yeah.
I'll tell you what would be good. Maybe we should come up with this idea where there's a village full of people asking puzzles, and then we could come up with a wide range of puzzles.
Oh, Puzzle Village. Yeah.
Puzzle Village.
Professor Cecil.
That's the one.
And
That's the one.
And the Curious Puzzle Village.
That's exactly the one. Because that was quite interesting, because that really was a shortcut, wasn't it?
Mhm,
It was like,
mhm.
let's go and get a book full of puzzles. People love them and they're great.
Absolutely.
But then you have the conceit of a world where people are just asking about puzzles. And, you know, good for the Professor Layton guys, they came up with it first.
Brilliant, yeah.
But you know, generally for the rest of us, where we're having to come up with puzzles that actually fit within the context. I mean,
Right.
sometimes if we've got a really good puzzle, we actually change the story, don't we, to fit the puzzle?
Yes,
We can't.
yes.
We just got. You know, that's just so good, because ultimately that, you know, the puzzles and the solving the puzzles is such a major part of the gameplay.
Mhm. And again, it's back to that what I said earlier. It's the whole kind of what would George Stobbart do. So it's not so much thinking through it in your head. It's kind of putting your because you know George is a personality, he's a character. He's a little bit of a buffoon, but you know he's not the cleverest, the sharpest sort of knife in the drawer. Whereas Nico, she's on the ball. So you have to, again, the puzzles have to be kind of changed depending on what character's solving them. You know.
Yeah, they solve them in different ways.
Uh-huh.
We got such a great email from I should remember his name, I don't, who talked about his memories of playing Broken Sword on the first time round, and he got locked out of his house. Maybe one of you guys, maybe this is one of you guys, but this proves we really love the emails we get, by the way, and we all read them. So don't think that they go into a pile and then don't get read. In fact, Nina just sent one round earlier today. It was wonderful, from somebody who didn't have a great command of English but loved Broken Sword, and it's just great. Thank you. We really appreciate them. This particular guy was really quite young. I think he was like 10, 11, 12, and he got locked out of his house. And he describes in his email how he thought, what would George Stobbart do? So he went around looking for objects that he could find, drain pipes he could climb up with, and apparently he did eventually, with a sort of fairly obscure collection of objects and interactions, manage to get back into his house. So, you know, bless you. Thank you for sending us that. They're really, really fun.
Yeah, you didn't tell him about throwing the cat through the window.
Throw a goat through the window.
Don't try this at home, kids.
Yeah, but he did discover that the dog could swim.
Ah, that's okay then.
But actually, to go back to the question, I think the puzzles can be reasonably hard.
Yes. Oh, obviously. I think, as I said, the word is fiendish. I like the word fiendish because that kind of aptly describes what we're kind of chasing after.
And the optional hint system will be there. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's it. Hopefully, you should never get too stuck. Obviously, for those people out there who flatly refuse to use hint systems, then
And there's a fair number. I mean,
Yeah.
the thing that I'm really pleased, the reason the goat the goat puzzle got put in, well, the reason I put it in to the first Broken Sword game was because we had two types of people playing adventure games. We had people who really understood the grammar and absolutely raced through the game and complained that the game was too easy. And then we had mere mortals who would play the game and find that actually it was quite difficult. So Broken Sword was actually aimed right in the middle, and just for those people that really understood the grammar of games, we wanted to put a couple of really stinky puzzles in. And that's why the goat puzzle was deliberately put in to stop those people in their tracks, and it succeeded. And then the irony about it, of course, is that instead of being roundly condemned, which I thought it had been for many years, it's now become the subject of mugs and little models and things.
It's its own thing now, Charles.
Yep. But of course we have had a goat in every Revolution game has had a goat in it.
Long may it continue.
And long may it continue, indeed.
I'll just squeeze in for a sec. So I know I actually lost track for a second. Did you guys actually talk about multiple endings at any point?
No.
No. Okay. Well, the backers have been talking about multiple endings, whether we're doing them or we shouldn't be doing them. People say it's a great idea. Some people hate the idea. So I thought you might want to finish off with that one because we've got. Well, actually, we should probably finish with the last question.
It's a perennial question, and my response has always been, and you guys might disagree, that it's blooming hard coming up with one really, really good ending, because the ending is the culmination of everything that's gone before. It's the culmination of the characters, the story, the themes. And to come up with one really great ending is really hard. To come up with multiple endings is easy.
Absolutely. I mean,
but there's only going to be one that's good, and the rest are going to be weak, aren't they?
The hardest thing you can do as a game designer is design a game that has branching narratives, and obviously a lot of games do it and do it really well. But obviously when a game is all about the narrative and so ingrained in the kind of the story and things like that, and something like Broken Sword is. You've got the amount of work that it requires to set those sort of things up, and not just be a pasted on you win you lose sort of ending. I think something to be meaningful, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of energy.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we are going to do is put the player under pressure. So there will be states where you can die, and you can do the wrong thing, but we're not going to continue down that road. We'll bring you back and allow you to play from.
But I think
that point.
We would rather have little variations of route within the deeper game, and which then come together at the end.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Really
I think everybody will have slightly different. The story that they weave going through Broken Sword 5, everybody's story will be slightly differently, but they'll all pass through the same gates effectively. And I think that's sort of stuff that's good, and I really strive to put those little moments in that kind of change depending on what you say in a conversation. That none of our conversations are particularly throwaway. We kind of, there are little things that you just might happen to choose on a whim, and it will affect how people react to you, what people say to you at further points down the line. But generally, as the major sort of plot elements, the big scenes, the big set piece scenes, unless we want to spend 10 years and £100 million writing these sort of games, we've got to drag the player through a particular set piece scene.
But even if we had 10 years and £100 million, I'm not sure we could still do it, because, as I say, there is the ideal ending, and we try and get as good an ending as possible.
And we've done some less good ones, so we really need to concentrate
indeed,
on one really good one
indeed,
this time.
Indeed. I'm going to just say one thing, if I may, Nina, and that is that we have Tim sitting in the background. Do you want to just give us away? Tim is working hard on the first digital giveaway, the first reward. We're not going to talk about what it is, are we?
Was it?
We're not going to talk about what it is, or have we already?
I think we have.
No, it's a big secret.
It's a big secret.
Oh, it's a big secret.
Okay, it's a big secret. So it's going to be really cool. I think it's a great idea. It was Tim's idea. I think it's fantastic. So it's sort of.
It was actually one of the backers' ideas.
Oh, was it?
It was.
Oh, I do beg their pardon.
We
Okay.
jumped on it.
I mean, this is one of the extraordinary things, isn't it? We got so much feedback throughout the Kickstarter campaign, and we really did value it enormously. And I hope that people realise how much we appreciated it, because, well, we changed George because a number of people said that he wasn't quite right, and indeed he wasn't. We worked on technology to light him differently and to shadow based very much on this, and then some of the rewards. So this feels to me like a Christmassy reward, doesn't it?
Oh yes.
The sort
It's
of thing
gonna be
that,
Christmassy.
that you can put into your children's stocking, and you can and they will appreciate it. And instead of them running around wanting to open all their presents, they're going to be so excited by this one present that they won't even bother with all the others. So if your parents just buy them, just don't buy them, give them this, and don't bother buying them anything else. Would you agree?
Well, I hope so. Hope it's going to be that good, because I am working very hard on it at the moment. And yeah, so by the end of the week I should be at a test phase. So I'll be testing it out.
Fantastic. You don't think I've oversold it, do you?
Oh no, absolutely not,
No,
Charles.
okay. People aren't going to be disappointed.
Some late nights then go.
No, I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be great. So
Yeah.
Fantastic. Good. Well, do you think we start wrapping up?
yeah, we should wrap it up. Thanks, guys, for for joining us for our very first Code Jam. It was really nice to meet you all, and thanks for all your comments. I will wear a hat next time if I can find my hat. Charles, you also need to get a hat and a cigar, apparently.
And this, do you know what? I was asked to do a little little movie for Adventure Gamers, and I do wear a Santa hat in that.
What's your hat size, Charles?
Oh, that's a brilliant idea. We should all wear Santa hats
The
next
gentleman
time.
should always know his hat size. 7 3/4.
7 3/4, right? that's seven. Well, that's to try and hold your enormous brain in. So
It
mine
is,
must
it
be
is.
probably fantastic. There we go. What do you think? Does it suit me?
Charles, do you want to say about unanswered questions? Because I'm sure people might want to know. I think if they email in next time.
Well, please email. We're going to do this on is it a monthly basis?
Yeah, that's right. So, for any of you guys that have been sending us questions live and your question hasn't been answered today, I'm really sorry, we only have an hour. But do send your questions through. You can send them to info@revolution.co.uk, and I'll add them to the list for next time.
Great. And tell us if you like this format. I mean, we played. We played around with the idea of a camera roving around the studio, but then everybody was going to be a long way away, and the microphone was going to be complicated. And Nina, bless her, set up various permutations, and then we thought that actually just coming and sitting in front of a camera might work best. If you want it any other way, then let us know, because it's ultimately something that you guys have. It's for you guys, so we'll do it the way that you prefer.
I know some of you had difficulties connecting. It'd be great if you could send us an email at the same address, and just let us know what kind of issues you might have had. I'm sorry that the volume was too low initially, but I think I'll know for next time to set it all the way to max.
Work out the kinks.
Yeah.
Cool. And also, there's a recording of this?
Yes, there is. This session is out for 48 hours. We'd really appreciate it if you didn't share it out with other people, because obviously it's intended just for you guys. But also, I don't think we would have been able to get as many people involved if people thought that it was going to be distributed all around the internet, if you know what I mean. So yeah, if you could keep it a secret, we'd really appreciate it.
Good. And if you feel that the stuff that we should have answered that we didn't, or a different emphasis, then honestly, just tell us, and we'll gladly tailor it to for what you guys want.
All right. Well, thank you guys.
See you then.
We'll see you next time, and I hope everybody has a lovely evening, and for people in the States, a great afternoon.
We should dress up next time, shouldn't we? Because it will be Christmas.
Yeah, definitely.
It'll be just
Santa
before
hats.
Christmas. Santa hats. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll do that.
Elf hats.
All right, guys.
Okay.
See ya.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye bye.